Hey. Hello, everybody. We're going live. Hello. It has been a minute. I'm going to wait a few minutes for folks to get into the room. Let me look and see if I'm live. And I believe that I am. Let's see. Now, today you're going to hear all kind of stuff because I'm at my children's house hanging out with them. And so you're going to hear all kind of stuff. Let me make sure I'm on here. Okay. Give me a few minutes, you guys. I just want to make sure that I stream this to the folks that I notify the folks on my post. Okay, that's done. Let my mama know. I'll let her know now. And then we could get started. Take me about a minute or so. And how's everybody doing today? I think I have my chat on. Let's make sure. Let my mom know I'm live.
Tap the screen to join us.
Sorry, guys.
To the women who don't know.
Trying to let my mom know. Share. Copy link. Let my mom know. And thank you. Oh, look at my mama. I sent her the text saying, hey, my mom live. She said, I know, and sent a heart. Oh, thank you. Well, mama, I think we got a couple more sick folks in the house now. Let's see. Let me send it to Kamani. Give me a second. And let me send it to one other person. All right, cool. Okay, cool beans. Thanks for being patient with me. You guys know how I do. Every month I have to try to get my folks in the room. And every month I have to try to figure out how to make everything live. All right. So Ma, how you doing? The girls, hey, your grandmother's on the live. Hello. You want to say hi to Mimi? Hello, Mimi. Hello. You hear you girls, Mama, they saying hi. Hello, Mimi. Okay, so while we're waiting for other people to come into the room, I'm going to go ahead and share my channel milestones, or our channel milestones, really is what I should say. And I am very, very proud of the progress that we have made on this channel. I'm very proud of the community that we are building. So I just want to give a few brief channel milestones. Before I do that, why don't you put in the chat pot where you're calling from or where you're logging in from. If it's California, if it's Atlanta, Chicago. I know we have people from all over the world that's a part of our community. I've gotten comments from South Africa. Hey, South Africa. I've gotten comments from Kenya. Kenya's in the house. From Great Britain, from Australia, from Canada, and of course, my folks here in the U.S., from states like New York, Chi-Town, Atlanta. So I just want to welcome everyone. And my home state, California, okay, you know, we bring it in, Cali. Lately, we've been going through some things. You know, recently we dealt with some fires here in California, and this week, we were told that we might need to look out for some tsunami warnings. So, you know, in California, they don't tell them what you're going to get. I'm sure you've heard about some of the things that we had been dealing with as it relates to some people who invited themselves into the state. Many of them have left, but we have not been bored here in California, to put it mildly. So go ahead and put in the chat pot where you are looking at the live stream from. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about some of our channel milestones. So we have officially grown to over 2,900 strong in our community. Yay! I'm so excited about that. And the reason why I'm so excited and so proud is because this is organic growth, meaning that, you know, we just let folks come in. This is all you all, from sharing the videos, from talking about the videos, from watching the videos. And just to explain briefly how the YouTube algorithm works, whenever you all share a video, whenever you all view a video, when you engage by liking the video or commenting, YouTube says, hey, this is pretty good. Other people may be interested. And so YouTube will push the video or live stream, like this is a live stream, will push it out to the algorithm atmosphere. And that helps us to be present and you know, reach out to other folks, increase our community, so that, you know, we can create that third space, that third safe space for us. Okay, so again, welcome for the 2,900 subscribers. Now, the other thing I want to say is I'm saying 2,900 subscribers. That does not include all of the people who watch the videos. Okay, even though there's 29,000 subscribers, keep in mind that subscribers usually represent anywhere between 13 and 30% of those who view the videos. So community is a lot bigger. The subscriber count is around 2,900, and I am so proud of us. The other milestone that I wanted to share with you is that our channel, this is our channel, we have received over 130,000 views. And that to me is a big deal. I am so proud of that. I remember when I first started the channel, and I watched my own video. I think I was the only view, and I'm not even sure if YouTube counted that. Me and my mama. My mama watched it, and my girls, they watched it. And so I had that one view, which was my view, my mom's view, my kids' view, and I was so excited. But now we doing our thing, you guys. We really are doing our things. And briefly, we have a lot to cover here, so I'm gonna try to stay on track. But I do want to say that we have been doing a number of series or playlists. Currently, we are working on the career playlist for Black women. I have taken a hiatus in July. Haven't been feeling good. So you'll notice that the uploads have not been as consistent as I wanted them to be, but we will be resuming the career advice playlist series within a few weeks or so. But I also wanted to say that while we're doing the career playlist series, I also wanted to provide some resources to those who have recently lost their job due to some of the cuts that you have seen on the news. I do want to leverage my experience in hiring, interviewing, prepping folks for job readiness, promotional readiness, leadership development, and to help those individuals to secure new employment, different employment, whatever it is that they would like to do. We're going to talk a lot more about that a little later, but right now, let's go ahead and talk about some of the news that's out there. In the meantime, what non-political topics would you love for me to cover on this channel? Wellness, book recommendations, topics that you think that may be helpful to our community. I'm not going to be getting into politics, but let's talk a little bit, or even provide some of your recommendations. And you can go ahead and feel free to put those in the chat pod. And let me look at the chat pod, in fact, to see if we have any comments, questions, and then I'll get back on track. So let's see. Oh no, my chat. Well, my mom did a comment. So, and while you're in on the live, please remember to give it a thumbs up, like it. So again, YouTube will send this out to the algorithm. It looks like there's 5 people in the chat right now. If you could all give a thumbs up, that would be great. Ooh, this tea don't have any. I need to get some sugar or something. Some Splenda in my room, in your room, in Ifani's room, in Chineri's room. Right there on the desk, 2 Splendas. My daughter made me some tea. I've been sick, so I have been isolating. So if you guys going out, make sure you put your mask on. We got some stuff going on, okay? All right. So today I'm gonna talk about. Thank you, baby. Let's see. We're going to talk about, first I want to just get into the National Black Women's Equal Pay Day for 2025. And just to describe and explain what Black Women's Equal Pay Day is. First of all, it was observed on July 10th, 2025. But I still want to talk about it. What that day is it's a day, according to Congressman Alma Adams' office, where it shows where Black women have made what non-Hispanic white men made beginning at I think it was the beginning of January 2024. So what Black men made white men made from January 2024 through December 31st, 2024, Black women have made that from January 1st, 2024 through July 10th, 2025. And you may say, how does that happen? Well, it happens because according to Congressman Alma Adams, Black women earn just 64 cents for every dollar paid to white men. And what makes this disturbing is that the gap is only closed by 5 cents in 2 decades. Let me repeat that. The gap has only closed between what non-Hispanic white men earn and what Black women earn by 5 cents within the past 2 decades. All right. That's a little disturbing. And I'm not trying to start the live off with a humbug, but I just want to talk about some of the things that impact us as Black women in the United States workforce. Okay. And so if this continues, according to the reports, if this trend of paying Black women only 67% of what white men make, it will take until the year 2227. Yes, you heard me right. 2227 for Black women to finally reach pay equity. Now, for those of you who don't have a calculator in front of you, that's over 200 years from now. All right. But the numbers are not the entire story. It's more than numbers, right? This is about the economic impact of our families, communities, and our generations. And it's about intersectionality. And we talk about intersectionality a lot on this channel because as Black women, we are impacted by race and ethnicity as well as our gender. These things are combined, and they sometimes, and many times, limit the opportunities that we have, the opportunities we have to earn. And some people may not realize how important it is. They may say, oh, what's the big deal? 67 cents on the dollar is not a big deal. Well, it is a big deal. When you go to maybe buy a home, they want you to be able to show that you earn at least 30% of what the payment will be. When you want to rent an apartment, when you want to save for retirement, if you're making only $67 cents on the dollar, this is going to limit your ability to get into your retirement. Okay. It will also limit your ability to provide for your children's education, meaning that your children may have to take out more student loans as opposed to you being able to take out equity in a home to outright pay for college, right? It may also impact your ability just to have that sense of security. Okay. Now, this year, a resolution was introduced by Congresswoman Adams and other representatives, okay? And it acknowledges that Black women are consistently undervalued in the workforce. Pay equity remains out of the reach despite the Equal Pay Act passing 61 years ago. And we need serious policy actions. We need pay transparency, family leave, anti-discrimination enforcement, because we do have programs such as the Equal Opportunity Commission. We have affirmative action somewhat. We have these things in place, but we need them to be enforced for Black women equally as they are enforced for others. Okay. we also need changes in the way the government looks and handles caregiving to contracting, from government work to gig jobs. So these wage gaps, they hit across all sectors. And, some people point to the rollback of DEI efforts, civil rights protections, and federal job opportunities. They look at that as making things worse. And to some extent, I do agree with that. As Dr. Jamila Thomas of the Institute of Women's Policy Research said, the wage gap impacting Black women stems from deeply rooted structural racism and gender bias, not individual shortcomings. And I just want to say that because a lot of times as Black women, we think, oh, I can do better. I'm not making this, maybe, and you guys putting some sweetener in my tea. We think maybe, hey, if I could get another degree, if I can get another certification, if I work harder, if I get a better job, if I get this and that, then I will somehow reach or close those pay gaps. And what I'm saying you is, yeah, we can do that sometimes, but even when we are in the same positions with similar educational backgrounds, experience, and skills, even when we're in those jobs, this research shows that we still make 67 cents on the dollar of non-Latino white men. So it really has not a lot to do with our qualifications for the jobs that we occupy. Okay? So I do have a question. How has the wage gap or economic discrimination shown up in your life or community? Have you ever been paid unfairly or undervalued in a role? Let's talk about that. Go ahead and put your comments in the chat. And I just received a text from somebody saying that they don't see the chat. So let me go on here and see what's going on. Oh, I'm not sure why you don't see it, sis. You should be in there. You're in there as a moderator, so you should be. Go out and come back in, Kumani, and see if you can get in there. Okay, so I want to welcome Michael Pan to the live stream. Yes, our channel and our community and the content is curated for women, but we do welcome our brothers. Y'all are welcome. We talk about all things Black women, but Black men are a part of us. So we got to say, we got to include, we got to say welcome, So to see, not a big improvement at all is what Michael Pan is saying. He's also saying Philip Scott. Philip Scott is a content creator. He has a number, for me, he's content creator goals. Okay. He has a number of channels I watch every night. The African Diaspora Network. He has the Philip Scott podcast. And then he has a new, he has several others. And then he has a new one that's generated by AI. It's called Afrotech. So, go check out his channel. I agree with about 95.77777% of the things he says. But one of the things that Michael is pointing out in the chat pot is Philip Scott says that cash payment reparations are more important than addressing gender inequity and other issues. And, I haven't heard him say that. But obviously, I would have to say that they're probably both important. I do agree that I would like to have reparations in the form of cash payments for foundational Black Americans, ADOS. I forgot what that stands for. Somebody put it in the chat pod. For those of us who are Americans who are descendant of slaves, ADOS. I don't go by all of the titles because, they change. I'm almost 60 and we went through a number of different titles. I know that it's causing some dissension for some people who don't understand the necessity of the titles or the delineation so that we can identify our culture, which is unique to us being here in America. I get that, but I am a proud Black American, African American, foundational Black American, whatever title folks want to put on there. It's funny. I talked to my mom last night and I was asking her, Mama, what do you identify yourself? And she said, I'm just Black. Now, what I want to say is, and I know I'm getting off topic a little bit, some people who are immigrants to the country don't understand why Black Americans have decided, and I said I wasn't going to get in politics. I don't really believe this is politics. I believe that this is culture, but I just want to use this as an educational opportunity. Okay, I'm almost 60. I'll be 60 in January. And from the time that I was born in 66, we have gone through 5 iterations of what we were called. Today, I looked at my birth certificate. My birth certificate says Negro with the capital N. That's important is because before I was born, we were identified as Negro with the small n, but the capital N is what's on my birth certificate and how my mother and my father are identified. When I was in elementary school, we identified ourselves as Afro-Americans, Afro, AFRO, okay? So we identified ourselves as Afro-Americans for a while, and I want to say in between there, we went in and out of identifying ourselves as Blacks, okay? I remember clearly in junior high school, we were Blacks, okay? And then when I was in high school in the 80s, we went to African Americans. And that was primarily, I believe, because when Jesse Jackson had done some research or, was involved in a lot of the committees that had to do with securing justice for us, he wanted us to be able to identify with a geographical location because Black as a race is a color. And so the thinking was to connect ourselves to a land. And because we don't necessarily know, us being those who were enslaved here in America, as well as other places in the throughout the diaspora, we don't know which particular country our ancestors came from. We just don't know. So the decision and agreement was made in our community to go ahead and identify ourselves as African American. Okay. So for those people who are like, why are they changing? Folks change their identification. Okay. If we want to be real about it, people who call themselves Nigerian American or they call themselves Ghanaian American, they're identifying themselves by those names to show that what country in Africa they came from, because they know. We don't know. And so that's why we are saying what we want to be called. Now, at this point, for me, the jury's still out about what I'm going to identify myself as. What's really funny is I was looking at my daughter's birth certificates, both of them, and one was born in the 1990s and one was born in 2000. There is no ethnic identification on either one of their birth certificates. What it has is where I was born and where their father was born, and he was born in West Africa. Okay. So I just wanted to put that out there before I get into the show. Let's see. I'm going to read the chat pod. Let's see. Okay, Michael says, Colette, why do you only agree with Philip 95.7% of the time? Why not 100% with him? Well, because I have different views on some of the, like for example, I'll give you a quick example, and this is not to trash him. I don't want him coming over here saying nothing to me. He's actually my YouTube content goals. As I said, I consider him a brother, and I watch his channel. Like I said, every day after this live stream, I will be turning on the channel. But 97.5% of the time is because as a woman, I have a different take on his stances on child support. Okay. So that's one of my differences with him. I disagree with that. He has his ideas about child support, and I get it. I understand he's a man, and I get it. But I'm a woman and the mother of two daughters that I raised after being divorced, and I relied on, of course, my salary and child support to rear our children. Child support is very important to me. Okay, so I disagree with him on that. All right. So hopefully that answers the question. And Kamani, are you able to get in? I hope you are. Okay. So let's go to the next topic. Anybody have any questions? If you do, put them in the chat pod. Hey, can you guys put a 1 in the chat pod if you're able to comment? Put a 1 for me, if you don't mind. You can put a 1. Thank you, Michael. Mama, put a 1, please. Huh. Okay. L Trotter. Hey, L Trotter. Thank you for putting a 1. I appreciate you guys. Okay, let's talk. Let's get into the next topic. Today, I also want to talk about a news article that I read. It's an MSNBC news article by Katasha Roy. And really what she talks about, nearly 300,000 Black women have left the U.S. labor market, the U.S. labor force in just 3 months. And more than 518,000 still have not returned since the pandemic. Now, this article points to some things and gives some reasons as to why they feel that 300,000 Black women left the U.S. workforce in the past 3 months. The article points to federal policy changes, particularly the mass layoffs in the public sector jobs where Black women have historically found middle-class stability. And I believe that to be true. I won't even just say that it's just federal jobs where many of us have found, well, it didn't say federal job, they say public sector. And I agree because a lot of these jobs, they have bargaining unit protection. So you'll find Black women in these jobs. However, I am going to say that we tend to still be underrepresented, even though some folks, they find different data saying different things. And I'll get into this in a minute. The article goes on to talk about agencies like the Department of Education and Health and Human Resources have seen up to a 50% cut, and that hits Black women first. And let me tell you why. Many of the jobs that Black women occupy are helping jobs. Many Black women are teachers, right? And when they have sort of promoted out of being a teacher, maybe promote to administration within the educational system or something like that, or even if they leave like school districts, some of them will go to the Department of Education, either the federal agency or the state agency. Many of them will go there. Why? Because they still want to be connected to education, but at a different level. For health and human services, many Black women occupy caring occupations such as nursing, such as in-home supportive services, doctors. We are in those fields. And when we say caring fields, not just necessarily providing the care, but providing the auxiliary support to those who provide the care. We are in like social work. We are in mental health support area. For example, Dr. Kamani Norrington Sands, she's on the live. She is a clinical licensed psychologist. So she is in a helping field, a healing field. And so, yes, Black women tend to be in this field. The other thing that the article points out is not to forget that Black women make up over 12% of the federal workforce. And it says nearly double our share of the general labor force. These roles have traditionally offered better pay equity, pensions, and benefits. And I know growing up, I was always taught and told you want to get a good job with good benefits. I am one of those people who I worked for a public sector job. It was in federal. I did work for federal at one point in my career. I worked for the Department of Treasury, right, while I was in college. And then when I graduated from college, after some time in private sector, I worked for a state agency where I worked for almost 30 years and ended up retiring about 4 years ago. Okay, so we do make up a pretty good number in public sector jobs. So the other thing that the article points out is it says it's what's more alarming is the DEI rollback. Roles were eliminated, funding was slashed, and legal pushback is dismantling support systems for Black women. Now, if you've ever seen any of my content, you will know that I have a different take on how much the DEI rollbacks impact Black women. I'm not saying it does not impact us, but I do feel that as us, Black women and Black men, not being the primary beneficiaries of DEI initiatives and affirmative action initiatives and EEOC initiatives, I don't know. I kind of question how much DEI. I question the amount of contribution that's given to the DEI rollbacks, because when I looked at some of the DEI roles that were filled within, let's just use my agency. I worked at an agency with, I think it was over 9,000 employees. It might be 98 or 9,000. Oh no, I'm sorry. The entire department was 98,000 employees. Okay, this is the state of California. So when I looked at who occupied those DEI roles, they didn't look like me. They didn't look anything like you. Okay. Now, yes, the roles were eliminated, but the people in those roles, and what people need to understand when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that did not just address Black people. In fact, Black people were the last on the list. First on the list were white women. Second on the list were the LGBTQ AI plus community, okay? Then veterans, okay? And generally veterans' wives. And I'm not saying that any of these people shouldn't be on the list. I'm not saying that. Other minorities, including Hispanic minorities, other immigrants, and Blacks, American Blacks were last, the very last to benefit from that. And the studies, the reports bear that out, okay? And I forgot to say disabled, people with disabilities. Not saying these people should not be on the list of DEI or affirmative actions in any of that. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is that when we look and we say, okay, DEI hit Black women, and this is why our numbers are high as far as us losing our jobs. The federal government layoffs, many of those jobs, those Black women had those jobs before DEI. DEI came out after the George Floyd situation. Okay. So, did this data surprise you? Drop a fire, okay? A fire emoji if you feel this is, if you think this is, if you were surprised, and if you weren't surprised, just say, hey, I wasn't surprised about that. And if you have a different take, let's hear it. I'm also going to give additional information based on what the root said. So let me go there real quick. And I'm going to go out of this so I don't get confused. Let me just close that one out. And let me look at some of the chat real quick. Okay. Okay. All right. And so let's see. So I have, I'm reading the chat right now. L. Trotter, it says, addressing gender inequity has more momentum across all ethnicities than addressing cash payment reparations. We can address more than one issue at a time. We should care about each other's issues. I agree with that, because I feel like, and when I say I agree with that, I'm talking about Black women's issues and Black people's issues. Okay. Let's see. Michael Pan says, Philip Scott said that he is cool with DEI being eliminated. I am too. By the way, he voted for Trump in 2024. Okay, that's fine. He did not tell his sisters because they would get upset with him. Okay. I was not surprised at all. Okay, that's his, he can vote for whoever he wants to. I'm okay with whatever, It was eye-opening to hear the truth of all that data. That's what L. Trotter says. All right. So let me go to the next segment. I want to talk about the roots perspective. Okay. So let's build on what we've covered, because there's always more to the story than just the headlines. So according to an article by Aisha Smith in The Root of the Root, the job market looked strong on the surface. Okay, so you'll see that the numbers are saying, hey, they added so many jobs to the labor market. In fact, there were some numbers that came out today saying that there was, like, I think 75,000 or so jobs added to the workforce, according to the latest report. And I believe that would have been the report through June 30th, I believe. But unemployment went up. So I'll talk a little bit about how they get those numbers in a second and how they count the numbers, okay? So when I'm looking at the Root article, they talked about how Black women, the experience is different. And the reason why you'll hear me harping on saying that I don't think that DEI is solely responsible, and I'm not saying anybody said that it is, said that it is. I just don't want to give it more credit. What we always know to be true is that Black women, Black people in general, are usually the very last hired and the very first fired. So this is not a new rodeo for us. We've been on this rodeo before. Okay. And so what I want to talk about before I move on is how, when they're reporting the data, they being the government, when they're reporting the data about how jobs were added and how jobs were deleted, or how unemployment goes up or down or what have you. One thing that they do include in the numbers are temporary jobs. Those numbers, they cause the number of jobs added to go up. So let's say, for example, I'll use Christmas season. So Christmas season, generally, you have the stores, they will hire temporary help. Everybody hires temporary help. So when that job report comes out ending December 31st, what is it going to show? It's going to show more jobs, right? But because they don't differentiate between full-time jobs and part-time jobs, permanent jobs and seasonal jobs, when somebody is just looking at the numbers, it can kind of be a little deceptive because it doesn't break down the types of jobs. When they said unemployment numbers went up, of course they went up. We have federal folks getting, laid off, right? But then we also have an issue going on with immigration. So many of the seasonal jobs have been cut. Why? Because there's nobody there to pick the crops. So that those people, they pay into unemployment. Many of them, most of them, if not all of them. So guess what that means? They went to unemployment. So when they report, they being the federal government, they being the news, excuse me, I've been dealing with an illness, so my throat is off a little bit. When they get those numbers from unemployment. I worked for the department in California where they get the numbers for California. I actually worked for the department that provides those numbers. I worked there for almost 30 years. That's where I retired from. Okay, so that's how they get the numbers. So the numbers are not in and of itself the entire story. The numbers are out of context. So I wanted to give you some context. Getting back to the root article, between February and April 2025, while the overall U.S. economy reportedly added 175,000 jobs, excuse me, Black women lost 304,000 of them. Okay, we talked about this. Excuse me. We talked about this. In March alone, the unemployment rate for Black women spiked from 5.1% to 6.1%, the sharpest month-to-month increase for any racial or gender group. Excuse me, you guys. Hold on one second. Excuse me, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. All right. Got my Ricola. I usually have them here, but I didn't today. So sorry about that, guys. Trying to fight this cough. Okay. So what I was talking about was the numbers. So we left off at me talking about in March, the unemployment rate for Black women spiked from 5.1% to 6.1%. But it dropped. It dropped in June to 5.8%. Okay. But it's still above the national, the national average. So I just want to pause here and look at the chat bot And next, we're going to go into talking about, what's fueling the number of folks who are on unemployment. Okay. Let me go to the chat pod. Oh, thank you, Kamani. Got in. I'm glad you got in. So I'm going to read the chat pod. Okay, Michael says, El Trotter, are you familiar? Oh, he talking to somebody else. With Philip Scott, because he wants his brothers and sisters to be business owners. Yes, so we've always been business owners. That's not anything new. He's from the South, so he's traditional, and he knows how our community, how we normally are in our community, Black community. We usually, I know in my family, people always had a job and always had a side hustle. That's what we called it. I know growing up, my mom worked a job, a regular job, and she always was selling something. Okay, so she always had, in fact, she is the reason why I always knew that I would be going into business. Okay, my grandmother, she owned homes. Okay, my great grandmother, she owned a place. Actually, both of my great grandmothers on both sides of my family, they had their own businesses. Okay, so owning, having our own jobs is, that's not having our own businesses. That's not something that is new to our community. What is new to our community is many times the jobs that we had, the businesses that we had, we made sure that the money circulated in our communities. Back in the day when I was growing up, it's the money stayed in the communities, and you didn't have to worry about the money, all of the money leaving the communities. And that's really what we're going back to, and I'm happy to see it. Okay, let's see. Somebody said it was eye-opening to hear the truth about the data. I think I read that. Yes, 73,000 jobs were added. Okay, thank you so much, El Trotter. Good remember. Kamani, okay, she's able to get in. Okay, El Trotter says, yes, Michael, I watch his channel. Not all of us will be business owners. That's true. Many will remain employees, which is perfectly fine. That's true. There needs to be a fairness and equity income in those cases, and that is true. Somebody said, take your time. Thank you so much. Take your time. Thank you. Somebody else said, oh, this is Michael. Michael, I think you were in here before. I think you might have been in here before starting some stuff, but I like you here. Okay, let's see, because we can handle you. I understand you, where Philip is coming from, because he knows that the Karens are perpetrators in the workforce. Honey, I got all kind of videos on Karens, and I'm going to make some more. But yeah, Karen and her brother, Ken, they something else. But to be fair, we got some other folks that look like us that be acting up. Oh, somebody said, Colette, hope you feel better. Oh, that's Michael. Thank you, Michael. Michael said, Michael, I do understand our people are catching it in the workplace. In general, men and women, we are. And somebody said, good point. Oh, that's El Trotter said, good point, Colette. We have always worked and then had side jobs. We have. That's why, we don't like losing our jobs, right? We don't like losing our jobs. But we gonna eat. We gonna eat. Now, back in the day, we might have ate beans. My mama gonna get mad because we might have ate beans every day or something like that. We didn't necessarily eat beans every day. We had different kinds of food, but we had beans a lot. We even made a song about it. But we know how to make $1 out of 15 cents. That's not just a saying. That is an action that in our community we've been able to do. That's why I say I try to encourage us not to focus so much on what the news is showing. Okay. You want to know about it because you need to be aware, but don't let that dictate to you, to us, how we're going to respond, because we already know how this happened. And most of us, when the person said, I'm going to cut federal government, we already knew what time it was. Now, what I don't like is I don't like people making it like it's most of us getting laid off, because people want us to get out there in the street and start fighting over these jobs. They want to use our bodies. They want to use our voice to push a narrative that's just not true. Most of the people getting laid off of these federal jobs, if you look at the pictures, they don't look like us. Okay? They don't look like us. Those jobs, many of them, they didn't hire us. Yes, we're 12% of the workforce in federal government, but you got 88% occupied by the other folks. So just like we occupied them 12%, that 12%, we can occupy somewhere else, whether it's going to another job, whether it's getting a bit or starting a business or doing both. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead on with the segment. Let me read this last comment. Say Philip Scott experienced discrimination on the job when he used to work for a petrochemical. Yep, he did. He applied for a supervisor position and he was passed over for, yep, that's true. It's happened to me. Okay. So, and he and I are about the same age. I think I'm about a year or so older than him. Okay, so I want to talk about what's fueling the numbers, the dip in employment as reported by the Root. And just keep in mind, the information that I'm giving you is what I'm reading. Okay, it's based on the article by MSNBC and the Root. But I have my own opinion. And I'm going to be sharing that with you. But I wanted to lay the groundwork. So one of the things that we've talked about earlier, feeling the dips, is the federal cuts, agencies like USAID. We talked about the Department of Education, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And it said, well, Black women make up nearly 28% of the workforce, right? And it says these aren't just jobs. These are careers, pensions, and livelihoods. And that's true. But it's not the end of the world for us. The second thing the Root pointed out was the DEI rollbacks. Programs and roles that supported Black women's advancement have been dismantled. I have a different take. I don't feel like they necessarily supported our advancement, but that's just me. In both the federal government and private sector, these positions were the first eliminated, and that is true. But what I don't think this picture clearly tells is who occupied those positions. Even where I live here in California, the EEOC office, the Equal Employment Opportunities Commissions, most of those jobs aren't occupied by Black people. Okay, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Healthcare, caregiving, and administrative support, all pink collar jobs where Black women dominate are also being downsized, and that is true. That is true. But again, we've been here before. We've been here before. We have been here before. When I started my career after I graduated from college in the 80s, my very first, I'm going to say real job, but I've always had real jobs, okay? But my first job that I worked for a major, I want to say Fortune 500 company, insurance company, the day I walked in and started my very first day, I heard a bunch of people. I saw a bunch of people going into this it was like an auditorium or a conference room. It was a conference room. Of course, I'm new. I didn't know what it was. I'm checking in. I'm excited, signing in so that I can get in the building and what have you. But I see all these people walking, security guards walking. They're all going in this room. The doors are closed. Then I hear some yelling. And the next thing I see is all these people walking out. What had happened? My very first day in the 80s, they had, the company that I worked for had just laid off their entire IT department and another department, laid them off. And it was hundreds of them. And these people weren't even allowed to go back to their desk. Okay. Their personal belongings were waiting for them when they came out the door. Okay. And that was an example that was repeated all over the country. Now, I'm a Gen Xer, Generation X. That means I was born, Gen Xers are those born between 1965 and 1980. Okay. We're the smallest generation. We're the generation everybody forget. You hear people talk about the baby boomers, those born between 1946 and 1965. Okay, 1946 and 1964. And you hear people talk about the millennials, those born between 1981 and 1999. And now they're talking about the Z's. Those are those born after 2000. But you don't hear people talking about the Gen X's. That's what I am. Why is that important? Because for Gen Xers, we started our career. We started our career during in the midst of massive layoffs. We saw our parents and people we knew who had been on jobs for years lose their job. But guess what we saw them do? We didn't starve, right? So you said, why are you saying all this? I'm saying all this because this is not new. There's always cycles, right? Cycles when things changed. That what I refer to, that was called the dot-com boom, but right after that, another mass layoff hit. So there was two of them. Okay. The third reason that the root is saying accounts for the dip is systemic racism. Let's call it what it is. Black women have historically been overrepresented in lower paying jobs and underrepresented in leadership. And that's truth. That's what it is. Why is that important? We know that many lower paying jobs, there are high turnover rates. The working conditions aren't the best necessarily, right? And we also know that when you go to these websites and you look on our team, you go to the website and you say, about us. You click on about us. Then you click on our leadership team. And you look at all the pictures. And you keep looking. And you keep looking. And then you'll see one. And then you look at it real close and say, well, that might, we can count it. I'm just keeping it real. I'm keeping it real. So no, we're not in a lot of those leadership positions. I was in leadership when I left the state. And let me tell you something. Since I left, there is not another Black woman in upper leadership in the region I left. And I retired December 2021. No Black women, no Black people, period. Okay. The other thing, bias in hiring, promotion, and retention plays a role in why we're the first to go and often the last to be rehired. So one of the things that is not reflected in when they talk about these numbers, about people getting laid off and, how these numbers are, these are raw numbers, right? But they don't talk about some of the other people who were laid off, they're being called back in many cases. A lot of times we don't get called back. We walk out with the folks, got our box and all that stuff, right? Okay. They put their box down, get home, and they get a text. Come on back in here, Sue. Come on back in here, Kelly. Okay. Shamika don't get that text. She don't get that text. But Shamika gonna be fine. And I'm saying Shamika, my niece Shamika. named Shamika, but yeah. Okay. So are these trends visible where you live or work? Have you noticed these shifts in your field or community? Let me know in the chat. I'm going to go to the chat now, see what we have going on over there. If you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. Oh boy, y'all talking. So what we got going on over here? Let me see. Okay, what is that, Michael? He's still over there. Michael, what you talking? Yeah. Okay, this is good. I like this one. One of the things that Michael Pan says is Philip Scott preaches Dr. Claude Anderson regarding Black American economics. Phil wants to see the Black Wall Street going back to the 1920s. Philip Scott was born in 1978. Okay. You know a lot about Philip Scott. That's good. Yes, a lot of what, and my mom probably know a lot about this too. I know she does because my mother was very, very involved in a lot of the civil rights things that were going on in the 60s. We actually lived in Oakland and knew a bunch of the people who were involved in the Black Panther Party. A lot of people don't realize that they were for community economics. They started the breakfast programs that we have. They also were responsible for starting Head Start programs. Their rationale was you can't learn if you're hungry. So a lot of people don't know that. But what I was getting at is, yes, Dr. Claude Anderson, he did talk quite a bit about community economics and how important that is in just the uplifting of our community, of the Black community, right? Other folks practice, it's called group economics, really. That's what you see when you see, Asian people that patronize Asian businesses. That money it remains in their community. I think one of the saddest things that I have experienced in my life, this is not what I read about, this is what I experienced when desegregation came in and many Blacks moved out of the communities. And they took that resource base with them. Some of our businesses left, a lot of our businesses left. And when I was growing up, we were able to see that money remain in our neighborhoods. We practiced group economics. I don't know if we called it that. I was a kid, so I don't know what they called it. All I know is we didn't go to the store to get a watermelon. We didn't go to a big brand chain grocery store. We went to the watermelon men on the corner, and we did that every year. We didn't go to the store to get fruits and vegetables, to a chain store. We went to a neighborhood store. One of the main ones we went to was an Asian store, Chinese store, but they supported the community. That money stayed in the community. They were Chinese and they lived in the community. All right. Even the doctors, the Black doctors, when I was growing up, they lived in our community. You go across, in fact, my grandmother lived across the street. We call it the medical center. You go over there, you get your medicine, you go see the doctor, right? And these people lived in our communities. So, yes, when we had desegregation happen, the way we practiced group economics back in the 60s and 70s, it was interrupted. And so now you have individuals who are not from our community opening up businesses. I'll use the braids and wigs as an example because that's what you hear people talk about quite a bit. When I was growing up, the beauty supply places, at least one of them, T&M, A couple of them actually, they were Black owned. They were Black owned. Okay. Now they're not Black owned, and the money gets taken out of our community into other communities. So I think that having these conversations, even though this channel is not necessarily about that, I think that it's important to discuss it, because when we're considering pivoting and addressing changes that we're going to be making in our careers, we can consider what type of services and goods can we provide to our community and at the same time live. Unfortunately, growing up, entrepreneurship, it was not always taught in schools, and it was not necessarily encouraged. I'm of the age where we were encouraged to go to school, get a college degree, get a good government job with benefits, and that's what I did. And I'm not going to pretend that I did not benefit from that. I did. I did get the college degrees, and I did benefit from a public sector job, which allows me to have a retirement that I'll have for the rest of my life, to have health insurance paid for the rest of my life, in addition to, Social Security and all that stuff, right? Student loan forgiveness, was able to get all my student loans forgiven for public service, under the public loans, the student loan public service forgiveness program. So when I'm saying talking like this, I am not complaining. Okay. I'm just giving you the reality of somebody who, I'm just like these women who got laid off. Right. But I'm still here. Okay. I'm still here. Let me read another comment. Okay. Dr. Kamani says, really appreciate you reminding us that we know how to survive with these employment cycles. Yes, Dr. Kamani. And you guys, for those of you who don't know, Lifting as We Climb Consulting Services, she's my moderator today. She has her own channel. This is Dr. Kamani Norrington Sands. On her channel, she talks about toxic jobs. I'll talk a little bit about that today. And she provides information on how to leave toxic jobs, if you're able to, how to plan those out, and how to make your next move. All right. Dr. Kamani is a licensed clinical psychologist. Dr. Kamani, do me a favor and put your link to your channel in the chat pod for me whenever you get a chance. Okay, so let me read Michael. Colette, I am sure that you understand why millennials and Gen Zers leave their companies after working there for 1 year because due to the disrespect from management. Well, one of the things I'll say is that I understand a lot. I have one of my children is a millennial. She refuses to associate herself with the Gen Zers. Okay. And one of my children is a Gen Z. Okay. One of the things I will push back on is the Gen Zs aren't even lasting a year on the job. They're lasting less than a year. Many of them are leaving during the training period or getting fired. Okay. Yes, there are some paradigm shifts that need to occur within the rankings of management. Many of the people who are occupying management positions still have old management thinking, which is running people off. Okay. And this will continue to happen until they make those paradigm shifts. In fact, I'll be doing a series on leadership where I will be providing tips on how leaders can become better. Many of them are bullying the people. Many of them are harassing the people. And they're not just harassing millennials. Many of them are harassing a lot of people. Okay. And one of the things I always say, When you say that they're running off management disrespect, yes, because what you'll see with managers and leaders who and bosses who bully is you'll see one of three or all three characteristics. One, they're incompetent, many of them. Two, they are immature, many of them. And three, they are insecure, many of them. So incompetent, immature, and or insecure are all three. Okay. So one of my goals for this channel is to provide some tools for managers who no longer want to be assholes. Sorry, mama. I'm just keeping it real. Okay. I do have a master's degree in leadership and organizational studies. That's what I did. I managed managers, I trained managers, and I coached managers. That's what I did. But you have people who are old school that want to run management the way it's always been run. And just so you know, management structures in many of these organizations and companies is based on military style management. Many of them, most of them. Okay, the structures, the hierarchies, all of that's based on the military. And it's an old, outdated structure that the younger generations are not even feeling. In fact, truth be told, many companies and organizations are having a problem retaining talent and folks wanting to be managers because they're like, I don't want to do that. In fact, I have a daughter who she don't want to be in management. She don't want to be in management, and she make good money. She don't want to be in management, okay, at all. And I don't blame her. I was in management for a very long time. I don't even want to be in management anymore. Now, only way I do it is if I felt I could help an organization do better, right? But for the most part, no, I don't want to do it. Okay. So let's see. But look for those courses. I'll put some of them online. The other ones I'll let you know about. I will be, using, my years of experience of management and my master's degree, and I actually am working on a doctorate in leadership. So I'll be sharing some of those skills with you guys. But yes, they are leaving Michael due to the disrespect, and some of them, I have to admit, they got to learn some things about working. Not that they lazy, because I hear people say that. Some of them are, some of them not. But we do need to teach our children proper behaviors in the workplace, right? When I started my job, I started working at 14 as an in-home supportive services person, Mrs. Grisby, okay? But I was trained at a young age how to be professional. My mom has always been professional. She's the type of person, people look at her on her job and they used to think she was a manager. Okay, they just assume she the manager. They go, all these people in there, they go to this little lady, she barely 5 feet tall, maybe 5'1", and they assumed she was a manager. But I was trained to be very professional. But then I was raised by a baby boomer and traditionalist. Okay, so things are a little different now. Trotter says, excellent points, Colette, and good examples. We must keep reminding each other that we've been through worse, and more of us are beating the drum that it's time to keep the money in the community. That's right. Dr. Kamani says, as a roll-up to Michael's comment, I interviewed a Black woman millennial who noted that millennials have watched ways that Gen X and baby boomers have been harmed by jobs and say no for her. And that is true. That is so true. I don't blame a lot of these people. They're like, no, it's a no for me. And like I said, it would be a no for me too. My children watch me go through hell in management. Okay, and on a toxic job. Let's see. Read a couple more of the comments and I'll get back to the segment. Michael says, correction, I apologize for the repetition, Colette. I'm sure that you understand why millennials and Gen Xers leave their companies after working there for 1 year due to disrespect from management. Oh, you don't have to apologize. That's okay. It's all good. It's all good. You keep it interesting. Okay. Consulting, right? Because millennials graduated from college during 2000. Yep. During the great economic recession, they did. So they see things different. And Michael, keep in mind that they also graduated during a time when the country was closed down. So many of them started their actual careers in remote work positions. And during that time, a little bit after they had started working remotely, which they were like, hey, I love it, companies started calling them in office. And that's where you had a lot of problems, right? Because these folks started a remote job. And now you're like, I got to come in. So you talking to a person who, they rolled out of bed, maybe walked across their room, turned on their computer, and if they was doing customer service, they signed in. They might have had pajamas on, a bonnet, whatever, right? But now you're telling this person, okay, you got to get out of your bed, get in your car, get on a bus, whatever, come into an office, which means you got to put on some clothes. You can't wear pajamas to the office, and some shoes, right? So there's a lot of dynamics that I think are not always considered when people talk about or reference the Gen Zs in the workplace. There's a lot of stuff that they're not talking about. And let's see. All right, so let me go back to this segment. Bullying and getting away with it, which seems to be the pattern in this nation right now. That's true. Colette, would you compare the 1991 recession to the 2007 recession from your job market experience? Yes, I will. So in 1991, that was the second part of the recession that I was talking about. There was two in the 80s. The late 80s, early 90s. And 1991 was one of them. We also had the dot-com burst. So during that time, that's when I went into the workplace. So that's why I can identify with the Gen Yers. The Gen Xers. I keep saying Y. Y is millennials. Millennials are also Yers. But the Xers, the Zers, excuse me. The Zers starting a career during mass layoffs. I started my career during mass layoffs. Something happens to you, right? When you start a career during a period of pure pandemonium. The security that you hear people talking about when they say get a good job for job security. Well, people who start their careers during a period of time where there's mass layoffs, the concept of job security doesn't hit for them. It just doesn't. Like for me, I always had my bags packed. I was always learning new skills. Not that I wasn't doing my job and didn't earn my position. I was very good at all my positions I had, right? But I also knew, and I valued myself. I knew they didn't value me, but I knew what I brought to the table. Well, what I did, Michael, is I prepared myself. I think Michael asked that question. I prepared myself so that if these people, keep in mind, the day I started, they took hundreds of people in a room and would not let these people go back to their desks to pack. Hundreds. That was my first day of work. So keep in mind, do you think I ever forgot that? I have never forgot it, and it's 40-some years later. So what do you think that did to me? That made me stay on my P's and Q's, and always be prepared to, they may be walking me out too. And that's what you're seeing with, I think, part of what you're seeing with Gen Zers. They're like, look, you might lay me off. All these people, I found this job, I'll get another one. Okay. The recession now is different because it's driven by different factors. So again, I think one of the biggest factors is the return to work, going from remote work to return to office. There's a pushback between that. So think about it. Your business and your workforce is made up of multiple generations, okay? I didn't mention traditionalists. They're the parents of baby boomers, right? They're the people that was born 1945 and earlier. You do have a few of them in the workplace. You got one that just retired. What's his name? Richest man, Warren Buffett. He's 100 years old. He just retired. Okay. So you have different generations in the workplace. You have your traditionalists born before 1945. You have baby boomers born 1946 to 1964. There's still quite a few baby boomers in the workplace, right? Many of them occupying leadership roles within the company. You have my generation, Generation X. We were born in 1965 to 1980. Okay. You have millennials. Now, people talk about millennials like millennials are young. People don't realize millennials are 40-something years old. They'll be ready for retirement in less than 20 years. Okay, so millennials, you got them. They were born 1981 to 1999. So think about it. There's 3 generations I mentioned that are eligible for retirement today. Today, they can walk off the job retired. That would be my generation, Generation X, right? My mom's generation, baby boomers, and traditionalists, Warren Buffett. Now he 80 years old, he close to 90, I think. He just retired. So you have to replace those people, right? You have to replace them. So why is the consideration of return to work policies and remote work important? It's important because these people that's replacing these 3 generations in the workplace don't want to come to the office. They don't want to come. They want to work. They want to work at home. They want to work at home, or they want to drive a Uber and then they can go surfing on Saturdays, every Saturday, every Tuesday, or they can go to the beach. Okay, gig economy, gig jobs, because they're not stuck on these vanity titles that we were taught to honor. I'm a manager, I'm an executive of the so-and-so to the such and such. They're not interested in the C-suite jobs, your CEOs, CFOs. They're like, a C-suite? I don't want to be in no suite. I want to be at home. So I see ya. They're saying bye. And these are the people you seeing. They're creating their own businesses. And with the development of AI and this particular generation's ability to work AI, don't forget, Generation Z, they're digital nomads. Okay? They're digital nomads, and they were born during digital. They don't know a life without technology. They don't know a life without it. So in their mind, which rightfully so, they're trying to figure out why I got to be in the office to do my job. I can just do it on my phone. I can do it on my iPad. I can do it on. I don't need to be there. All I need is internet. Okay. So that's what's different in my experience. Okay. And I'm almost 60 and I ain't trying to go back in nobody's office. I'm looking for a little side job and I'm looking for remote work because I'm not trying to go back. You know how hard it was for me today to get up and put something on to do this live? Twist my hair up and all. I'm not trying to do that. So, all right, we've been on here an hour and a half. Let me get through this stuff. So I just want to talk about, I said I'm going to give you my opinion, right, on why I think you have so many women, Black women, leaving the workforce. Now, I'm not saying that they're not leaving because of the DEI rollouts or the elimination of the DEI rollouts and the layoffs. I do think that they are playing a pivotal role in why the numbers are large. But I think there's more to it than that. I think that there are a lot of other reasons that are not taken into consideration when we're talking about why these women are leaving the workforce. What many people are not taking into account, a lot of Black women, they joined the Great Resignation. Okay, they joined it. So you heard me say earlier that many didn't come back. Many didn't come back, one, because they left toxic work environments and they were like, I'm out. They were working from home and they could deal with the toxic jobs for a little bit because they didn't have to be around a person harassing them, bullying them. They didn't have to deal with microaggression as much. They had at least a buffer, a physical buffer, right? So they hung on in there in a job that they probably should have left or wanted to leave a long time ago. I'm one of those people. Okay. I'm one of those people. I hung on in there because I was working from home. I was cool. Right. Then you have some of them taking early retirement. We are now talking about, and you hear people talking about Black woman rest era. I think a lot of Black women are looking at their job and saying, wait a minute, how much I bring home? I bring home what? Okay, if I leave, and how much are my bills? My bills are what? If I leave this job, how much would I get for retirement? And that's what I did. I literally did that. It was a difference of a couple $100. My take home is what I was looking at. Now they look at that, and that's what they know. They're looking at the take home. Okay. The take home gross is big, right? But after you take all this stuff out, that's not what you bring it home. But when you go on retirement, some different stuff come into, at least for me, some of the other stuff came into action for me. And the numbers wasn't too much off. So some Black women are weighing their options. They like, I've been wanting to travel the world. I'm still young. I'm still healthy. My kids are grown. I want to do it before I get sick, before I get old, before my parents get sick and I have to take care of them. So they're leaving early retirement. You see it all over. They're leaving, they're traveling. I just came back from South Africa a couple months ago. Well, it was for some other reasons, but that I got that bug and that bug is not gone. Okay. I think about, like I said, I'm looking for another little job to care, maybe a bridge job, but just the very thought of going into an office, I get traumatized. I might have to call my therapist thinking of going back into an office, right? Another reason I believe that the Black women are not returning is shifting family responsibilities. Some of us, we have aging parents. Some of us have extended family members we're caring for. And don't forget that during the pandemic, care workers, particularly child care workers, a lot of those people could not work. And they did not come back to the workforce. So what do we have? We already had a situation where there was a shortage of childcare. Now that's maybe triple. And so you have women who are able to work from home and care for their children, pick them up, do what they needed to do. Okay. But now if they got to go back into the office, that's a extra expense, right? They thinking of, like I said, they're thinking about the cost. That's an extra expense. Is it worth it? I know for me, as a divorced mom of two, child care for just one of my children, one was $700 a month. And that was, let me see, that my children are 27 and 24 now. Just one was $700 a month. That didn't include the other one. Okay. So then I have, I believe that many of us are choosing wellness over workplace stress. Dr. Kumani talked about that in the comments. She talked about how many of us are leaving these jobs because we just don't want to deal with the BS anymore. You know, and if I'm honest about it, some of us just don't want to get a case. All right. Because going into these toxic jobs where you're being harassed, you're dealing with microaggressions, it takes a lot. It takes a lot not to protect yourself in every way. Because you are harassed. I was pushed on my job one time by another manager. Pushed, physically pushed. Okay. I had a manager come try to stand in my face like this. A man, 6'3.5", 4.5", huge guy. So there are physical things that happen on the job. So when we're referring about wellness, we talking about our physical well-being, our mental well-being, our emotional well-being. And some of us have said, you know what? They can have it. They can have it. Now, when I left my job, and when I left my government job of almost 30 years, my children made me leave. They saw me stressed out. We had to call an ambulance a couple of times because my chest and my blood pressure was so high. They thought I was getting ready to have a stroke. 911 thought I was getting ready to have a stroke. Okay. So I decided, hey, it just was not worth it. My mother was upset. My children were upset. It just wasn't worth it. So that's another reason. Some of them have gotten married and the husband or whatever said, hey, you don't have to work. Just be home if you don't want to work. So that's still a part of shifting family responsibilities. And the last one, which I love, is a lot of them are starting businesses and creating our own opportunities. Black women was the fastest demographic as it relates to opening businesses. The fastest was Black women. So it's no surprise that we're getting attacked. Black men are getting attacked too, okay? Because we're a group, we're a family, right? But I just would like for us to remember and not to get all stressed out about these numbers. Oh, they rolled back DEI, so we're going to lose our job. Please. Y'all had them jobs before DEI. You had them before DEI. Laura didn't have her job before DEI, that particular job, but you had your job. Okay? Let's just keep it 100. Okay? And I just want us to remember that this is not our crisis. It is not our crisis. Is it stressful to get fired and get laid off and not know, what to do next? It is stressful. I got fired from a bridge job last year. Fired. Never been fired a day in my life. Now, I'll do some videos about that. But you do feel some kind of way when you get fired, right? So I just want people to remember this isn't just a crisis. It's a reset. It's an opportunity for us to reset. Okay. So why do you think Black women are stepping back from traditional employment? Type your reason in the chat pod. The other thing I want to point out is I did a video about when I started this channel 2-3 years ago, and it says, why are Black women leaving the workplace? Black women will continue to leave the Black workplace until employers do this. Another one I did is called Black women and microaggressions in the workplace. Those were my top 2 performing videos. And people are still watching those videos and still commenting on those videos. And I think I'll probably do a refresh of those videos. Okay. So let me look at the chat pot, and then I'm going to shift gears. How many people we? All right. Let's see. Colette, how? Okay. So I answered that. Okay. So here's the question. Do you remember when Bill Clinton was president? The economy grew very strong from 1993 to early 2001. I do remember when Bill Clinton was president. Actually, around the time he was president, I was, let's see. Yeah, I was working at the job that I had told you about. Yeah, it was doing really, really well. He did some stuff that kind of pissed me off, but it was doing well. He made some changes to 401 retirement, 401k. Prior to his administration, you were able to take out your 401k, and you wouldn't have big, huge penalties. With him, and I know this because I did it, he signed a law where if you cashed out your 401k prior to retirement age, you had a huge penalty, and I paid that penalty, so I know. Let's see. The next one is Colette. I understand, but Gen Zers don't want to be stagnant and put up with militant people. Yeah, I agree. This one says correction. Colette, I understand, but Gen Zers don't want to be stagnant and put. Okay, read that. Colette, how was South Africa? It was amazing. I did a video on it. I'm going to be doing some more. You can check out the video that I did on it. It was good. I didn't want to come back. It was hard. Me and my daughter cried coming back, knowing what we would have to deal with here. In America, it's a whole different ball game over there. I loved it to see people looking like me. And I saw a man that looked like, he looked like Morgan Freeman. And in fact, when we were visiting the tribe, they said he looked like Morgan Freeman. And we looked at him. I took a picture with him. And he looked just like Morgan Freeman. So you see the people that look like us. You see the people that look like your cousin. You see the people that look like your mom. And, other groups of people take this for granted. But for us as Black people, it's different to be in a country where you're the majority. It was amazing. It's something I had never experienced before. What you guys do? Y'all went shopping?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I enjoyed my time. I plan to go back. I actually went over there for my daughter. My daughter got injured over there, so she got injured, had to have emergency surgery, and she couldn't fly for a year, for a month. So I had to fly over there and take care of my daughter. So I was there for a little bit over a month, I think. And it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. I'm trying to find some pictures for you guys. But I really enjoyed myself. I loved the meeting the people. I liked I was able to go to some of the exhibits. I couldn't go to a lot of them because, again, my daughter had surgery. And so, we were in the hotel quite a bit. Beautiful hotel. They have an area that's called like Rodale Drive, where a lot of rich people are, Lamborghinis, Maseratis, that's all you saw. So, we went to where Nelson Mandela lived as the president. We also ate at a restaurant that was next door to where the Bishop Desmond Tutu lived. So we were able to just have a good time. Let's see. Here's this picture. Now, let me see if you could see this. Now, this man looked like a young Morgan Freeman. I don't know if can y'all see that picture? Y'all can't tell me that don't look like no young Morgan Freeman. That looked like a young Morgan Freeman, and that's what. And he's part of the Gosha tribe. Here's another picture of him. Okay, so I'll be doing. He said he does look like Morgan Freeman. I know. I'm gonna send this picture to Morgan. You might hear some noise. My kids they went shopping, and so let's see. Let me show you a couple more pictures, and then I'll get back on track. That's what I like about Black people. We get off, we get to talk about stuff. Here's another picture of a person. So I plan to do some videos showing these pictures. I just it's been a lot trying to focus on being at home, and a lot of stuff been happening. So let me show you one other picture. This is a picture of me and my daughter, and we are standing outside of Bishop Desmond Tutu's house. In fact, you'll see where it says Tutu Residence and the street. And that street that we were on, that's my oldest daughter. That street we were on, that is the only street in the world that has housed 2 Nobel Peace Prize winners. Okay. Bishop Desmond Tutu, and guess who the other one is? Y'all probably already know it. Okay. So it was great. All right. Let me get into the comments, and then we're going to wrap this up. Let's see. I think Black women are leaving the workforce due to systemic racism, micromanagement. That's right. Unequal pay. I agree with you. I see a correlation between the brutal job market and professional football. Oh, I had never thought about that. Wow, that's something. Colette, other countries outside of America, childcare is either free or near free. Oh, okay. Let's see. Colette, did you get a chance to meet Philip Scott in South Africa? No, I was gonna try to go on his Ghana trip with him, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to swing it. Let's see. Michael, I remember when they said the economy was better, but as a people, I don't recall us benefiting from it across the board. You know what, Trotter? I was thinking the same thing. I don't remember that. My mama could probably speak more to it, but I don't remember us benefiting from it. I know then I was working 2 jobs, but I didn't have children and I wasn't married, so it didn't matter. I had a lot of money coming in. Let's see. My mom said, like when we were always, yeah, my mom said, yeah, we always gonna survive. We always gonna survive. And Dr. Kamani said, that's dope. Okay, let's get into our next segment, because I know y'all been on here a long time. I'm sorry, we getting long-winded, but I'm having a good time. I'm not. What are we gonna eat tonight? We'll figure that out. Oh, okay. All right. So I want to let's just shift gears. If you are someone you love has been laid off, this is part for you, okay? This is where we move from the problem to the path forward, okay? Because let's be real, being laid off isn't just about losing a paycheck. It's about losing a part of your identity, because many of us, we identify with our jobs, especially when you've worked hard, you've shown up, and you've done everything right, okay? But here's the thing, you're not alone. And you are not stuck. You just are not. This is time to reset. And I want to talk about 4 steps or 4 key steps on getting on track on what to do. I just mentioned I got fired. I did. I came back from a leave of absence. And I walked in, I think I had my little coffee or something with me, went in my office, and it was a little box on my desk. Then people took me to the conference room and they fired me. Okay. And I talked about it a little bit. I did a video about severance pay. That's a great video. So If you've been laid off, look at that video. Again, I'm not an attorney. I'm giving you the information as somebody who's been in management for years, but you want to always consult an attorney if you feel that it's necessary to do so. So the first step to getting back on track is to prioritize emotional well-being. Job loss, I don't care who you are and how you left, it hurts. I mentioned earlier that I actually retired from a job that I had been on for almost 30 years. The job was toxic. I dealt with some mess. I was in management. And even though I retired, it hurt. I dealt with feeling a sense of loss, and it took me some time, right? So same thing with this job that I just, that I was just telling you about. Oh, my mom gonna talk to me about messing with my bra. Sorry. She put me on the timeout last week before. When Mimi put me on the timeout? 2 weeks ago. You guys, I pivot. I'm almost 60 years old. So me and my brother, who I'm 59, so he must be 56. He was harassing me, right, at this party, our God brother's party, my little brother. Brother was harassing me, and I did what I did. So, my mama, she got tired of us, and she actually put me on a timeout in front of my 20-year-old child. I was put on a timeout. So, yeah, your mama can still time you out. Anyway, I know I get off topic. But anyway, getting back to step one, prioritize your emotional well-being. Because let me keep it real. When you get fired, you pissed off, even if you wanted to get fired. So the job that I had, I was ready to go, but I still was pissed off. So I had to feel the feelings. I tell my daughters when they're going through some stuff, feel the feelings. Okay. And maybe talk to some folks who get it, especially other Black women, and that includes the men, navigating the same space. Okay. And, work on your therapy. Get your therapy. Therapy isn't just for crisis, it's for clarity. Okay. If you need a safe space, seek one. Sometimes you got to create your own safe space. Make sure that you're looking into your packages that you're given, your exit package. Sometimes employers will extend their employment assistance program benefits to people that they've laid off. Okay. Take care of your body. Sleep if you need to. Hydrate. Move. Rest in the form of rest is a form of resistance too. So for me, I'm gonna keep it real. I've been sleeping. Okay, I've been sleeping. Getting my mental clarity back. Okay, you are allowed to be tired. You're just not allowed to give up. Now, that don't mean you always got to be doing something, but just don't give up on yourself. This particular moment is not your defining hour. Okay, you just gonna say, hey, wait a minute, I was going left, but look like they working on some stuff over here, so I'm gonna have to go right and keep moving. Bless you. So the second step, leverage your network. We all know people. We know people. Let people know what's going on. A lot of times we ashamed, we lost our job because we're so connected to our job. Our identities are wrapped up in our job, right? We're so wrapped up in what we do. In fact, the first thing people say when they meet somebody, which I decided I'm not going to answer that question anymore, is what do you do for a living? I have decided that I'm just going to start saying, oh, I live. So when people say, what do you do for a living? I live. That's what I do for a living. Okay. Reconnect with old colleagues, former mentors, LinkedIn contacts. Reach out to other Black women in leadership. Ask for informational interviews, not just job leads. You will be shocked what people know. I've had people that I have contacted or they've contacted me and said A, B, C, and D. And I said, oh, they hiring over here. Check them out. I'm known as a connector. I'm always trying to connect folks with stuff. You know what I mean? Somebody told me about this. I'll tell somebody about it. So let people know what's happening. If you want to get back in the workforce, tell somebody. If you don't want to get back in the workforce, you want to do something else, tell them that too, because you may be in the presence of somebody who has information that could be helpful for you to take your next step. You never know who's already talking about a role that's meant for you. Okay? Because a lot of times our careers and our jobs when they're discussed, we're not in the room. 3, explore new opportunities. Now, again, like I said, you might be pissed if you lose your job, right? Some of us might be happy, right? Till we get the little unemployment check and we like, wait a minute, where's the rest of it? You hear some beeping because one of my kids is cooking. So don't rush back into something that drains you. Instead, take a moment to reflect. What do you love? What are you really good at? What would your ideal day look like? Write those things down. Take a few days, a week or so, and just figure those things out. And I'll say it again. What do you love? What are you really good at? What would your ideal day look like? What I love about these younger generations, they're taking jobs that mean something to them. They don't care about the money. I mean, they're taking the money too, but they're not letting the money being the deciding factor in the type of opportunities that they take. Okay? They're not saying, oh, I get paid $100,000. That's cool, but I'm going to have to stay at the office all day. They're like, oh, no, I'll pass. I'd rather make $70,000 if I can work at home and have a flexible schedule. Or I'd rather make 70,000 versus 100,000 if I could, work over here helping in this certain community or doing this certain thing, something that aligns with their personal purpose. And that's what I like about them. And they're not scared to say it. Okay, if a job is creeping into their purpose time, that's why they getting up and leaving. They like, oh no. And then we, the parents of these kids, we taught them, you are valuable. You are valuable. Okay, you have value. You need to think about your value. We drowned that into them because we saw folks who were treated like they had no value. And many of us were treated on jobs like we had no value. So we don't want that for our children. Consider remote work, flexible and increasingly accessible. That's what's happening. These jobs are realizing, listen, if you want employees, okay, if you want them to stay, if you want to attract talent, if you want to retain talent, you're going to have to change your A game, employer, organization. You need to offer flexible hours. You need to offer remote work, or at the very least, hybrid work, where the person is coming in the office maybe a set number of days per week. Okay? Period. Okay. Consider entrepreneurship. Is there a passion out there you've been sitting on? Okay. It's all kind of stuff. And so this is a time to kind of consider these things, right? While you're still handling your business. Consider upskilling. Okay. So you can take this time to explore new skills. For example, you can take a class from a MOOC, MOOC, and that stands for Mass Online Open Courses, where you can take courses through these MOOC platforms for free from like Yale and Harvard and Stanford and the different schools. Okay. You can go through platforms like Coursera, Coursera. You got Skillshare. You have the Google certificates that's available through Coursera to help you pivot without breaking the bank. And one of the things I want to point out is when you take advantage of these MOOCs, MOOCs, mass online open courses, or I think it's mass open online courses. That's what that stands for. When you take advantage of these, when you go on to these, many of them are free. Some of them are very low cost if you want a certificate that goes with the course. But what I noticed, I was in there last week, a lot of these courses that are low cost, if you are having financial difficulty, such as you've been laid off, you don't have a job, you can take the courses free. You can even get the certificate free. Most of the courses are already free. What happens with these MOOCs is when you want the certificate, then you pay for that, right? But the courses generally are free or very low cost. What I'm saying to you is at this point, even their certificates can be offered free because they give tuition scholarships. And the process is really easy. Okay, so keep that in mind. Look for companies, and this says, committed to DEI. Even in this client, you do have some companies that are still committed to DEI. They still exist. Now, I yesterday was looking at a company, and I'll talk about it when I do some other videos, but they seem all in, and I was shocked. That this company was still doing it because of the type of the company it is. And, it's a very traditional company. It's been around for a very long time. I was very shocked. But, 4, okay, we're in 4. Remember your value. A layoff does not erase your brilliance, your leadership, your potential. A layoff is just what it is, a layoff. And so is a firing. Now, I have to be honest with you. I have to be honest. I was feeling some kind of way when I got fired. Okay. Make a list of your wins. So take some time to say, and write down things where you did that. Okay. What have you accomplished in your career, your home, your life? And while you're doing that, patting yourself on the back, do that. You'll also be able to see the things that you're passionate about, because usually the things that you have accomplished, you were able to accomplish those because you were passionate about it, right? Don't internalize this setback, okay? Reframe it as a setup for what's next. And I'm sorry, that's reframe it for a setup for what's next, right? And take your time in determining that. And I know everybody can't take a long time. We need our bag, we need our coins, we need to pay our bills. I get that. But do what you can. You didn't lose your worth when you lost your job or that role or whatever. There is a difference. Okay. So as far as the 5th thing, the financial considerations. All right. When you lose your job, whether you left it or you were fired, terminated, file for unemployment right away. There's no shame. It's your right. File for unemployment. Okay. Get your unemployment. Some cases, hey, if you had a disability, like say you stressed or something, and like you live in a state like California, where we have, sorry, I have to put this in, where we have state disability insurance, and you have a doctor that's willing to say, hey, she can't work right now, you may be able to file for state disability, even if you're not working. Okay. Consider temporary freelance or contract work to keep your income flowing. And we've all done that. We've all done, like I said, we've had our side hustles. We know what to do. Okay. We don't like what's happening, but we know how to swim and get through this. Revisit your budget and cut where you can. Honey, I just cut a lot of streaming services. I had a lot of them. Okay. I cut the streaming services. I have some, but I cut them. I've cut some other things. Okay. Now, some stuff I'm just not going to cut. I like eating out. I probably ain't going to cut that. But I'll cut something else. And you want to do this just until you get your footing again. Keep in mind, this is not forever. Okay. This is for right now. Okay. So, what's one thing you've done or plan to do to take care of yourself or re-enter your career after a setback? This is if this applies to you. Let's share some tips and encouragement in the chat. And even if you haven't lost your job, if you have some tips and encouragement you would like to offer, please do that. Okay, so let me look at the chat pot, see what's going on. Y'all hanging in here, huh? We've been on this thing for 2 hours. Let me see. I heard brothers are less likely to go to therapy because they consider it a weakness and view therapy for sisters. Yeah, that's true. And, I feel bad because our brothers, they need support too. They need to be able to share their feelings with somebody. They do. They do. And I encourage folks to seek therapy and I get it there. My therapist is a Black woman. I encourage Black men to get a Black man if that's what they want. L Trotter says, enjoying this so much, but got an 8:30 tennis match. So got to get some sleep. Enjoy it, everyone. Let's soar together as a people. Good presentation, Colette. Hey, good for you. Have fun, Trotter. L Trotter, we see you next live. Michael says, I heard brothers are less likely. Okay, we read that. Kamani says, love that. What do you do for a living? I live. Michael Pan says, Americans live to work and Europeans work to live. I heard that. Philip Scott has a different mindset about making money because he believes that a job should pay at least $100,000 a year to build wealth. I agree with him. I probably wouldn't leave unless it's 100, but that's just me. In addition to employers offering remote work, they also need to offer paid time off, paid parental leave, paid medical leave, paid vacation across the board. Europe offers paid vacation. I agree. And one of the things that I'll be doing in the near future, when I start the series that has to do with finding jobs and pivoting jobs and that type of thing, actually it's going to be a part of my career advice guides. I take that back. The career advice guides playlist is in my channel, so you guys might want to check that out. But when we resume the playlist, one of the things I'll be talking about is jobs, the salary of a job. In other words, what you make versus the value of the job. And so one of the things I've explained to my daughters is that there's a difference between what you make and the value of the job. If the job pays you $100,000, that's what you make. But if the job is paying you, giving you paid sick leave, paid vacation, paid benefits, the monetary amount of those benefits added to the salary is the value of the job. So, so I'll be talking about that. So thanks for bringing that up. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about is, actually, I'm going to do this in a separate video because we've kind of went long here. So I'll just do this in a separate video. And unless there's any more questions, then I'm going to go ahead and end the live. One of the things I did want to encourage people to do is to think about writing your personal vision. I've shown this before. This is the personal vision workbook that I created. Let's see if you can see that. Okay, it's 170 plus pages. It is absolutely beautiful. Inside, you are able to write your personal vision for different parts of your life. This is a very well-designed book. It's in color. It's on Amazon. The link will be in the link is going to be in the video. And this is the instructions page. But you will be able to write, for example, your personal vision for personal growth. This has several areas. So here's a personal vision for you. And so you would write your personal vision here. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, there you go. You could write your personal vision here. You would write, why you have this personal vision, what you plan to do to make it come to, and then you would sign a commitment to yourself. And this has like 7 different areas. Okay. And this is a thick book. It's in color. It's available on Amazon. Okay. I actually went to Office Depot to print a PDF of this. $40 to print it. And it's on Amazon for like $29.99 or something like that. So, thank you. I got a super chat. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you. Cash payment reparations equal appreciation and healing. I agree with you. Absolutely. So you guys, unless you have any more questions or comments, I'm going to go ahead and end the chat pod. Thank you for supporting this community. I just want to remind you all to share this live stream with somebody who you think is interested. Maybe go back and look at the replay if there's something that you missed. I will be doing some videos that will follow up and add on to what we discussed here today. The other thing I will be doing, I forgot to say when I was showing you the book, is I'll be offering a free workshop, a free personal vision workshop, where I will be going over how to draft a personal vision, how to write it out, how to articulate your goals. I used to do these workshops, so they were sold out every time I did them in person. I did them for years. I've been doing them since 2013. Everything that I taught in those workshops is in this book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this book here on the channel and offer a multi-part free workshop. And I'm probably going to do that either near the end of August or the beginning of September. But I think I may do it like the last 2 weeks in August, because I owe you guys a couple of at least 2 live streams. And so I think I may do it like that. And I'll probably do it in the evening like this. So I will let you know. I'll keep you posted. Let's see. Michael says, I enjoyed your presentation. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Michael. And my sister Harriet says, great live, Sister Harriet. So Dr. Kamani and I call each other Sister Harriet because we are both toxic job survivors, and we lead others, okay, to freedom, okay, from toxic jobs. So we call each other Sister Harriet, like Harriet Tubman, and I so she'll call me Sister Harriet and I call her Sister Harriet. And the other person that I like to include is Marissa Price. I call her Little Sister Harriet. So we consider ourselves to be the Harriets. So anyway, I want to thank you, Mama. Thank you for joining us. Kamani, thank you for joining. Michael, thank you so much for joining and engaging conversation. And for people in the future who are looking at this video, thank you so much for looking at the live stream. I really appreciate your support. Have an amazing day. I'm going to remember that the stuff going on in the news, that stuff is going on, right? But it impacts us, but it don't make us. All right, we'll talk to you soon. You guys want to say bye to the people? Anyway, love you guys. Talk soon. Bye.